Hi, I'm Elizabeth Gearhart here with Fireside, and I am here with Ash Kumra, who is a personal brand influencer. You just type in the name Ash Kumra, you'll find him online. So, hey, Ash.
Hey, happy to be here. Love what you're doing.
Yeah, so tell me all about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I am really passionate about helping people tap into their own purpose, their own mindset. I mean, some of these things we talked about when I was on your amazing radio show, and I am on a mission just to help people see that. So I publish a lot of content on how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. I have a course on LinkedIn, and I do a weekly radio show where I feature like creative mindset and entrepreneurs who are like living the dream.
That is awesome. So, you do personal one on one coaching with people?
Hmm. I
Um,
do.
okay, and you do that all through Zoom, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Zoom, and phone. We could talk about that actually. I actually recommend if you're doing coaching and consultations, I recommend you do it over the phone. And I think there is a level of comfortability that people have when they're on audio. I know offline, you and I were talking about Clubhouse, and I think one of the reasons why Clubhouse is doing so well is because people can be comfortable not having everyone see their face. Now, I don't mind being on camera, and obviously you as a media personality don't either. But I feel that there's situations where people want to just stretch out their legs and talk and not have to worry about how they look and get that Zoom fatigue with your eyes and stuff. And so I always recommend audio if you can over video calls.
Hallelujah, because I have a little bit of Zoom fatigue. Of course, I do videos on Zoom, so I'm on Zoom all day. But when I'm just having a non-video or non-interview
Yeah,
situation and somebody says, let's just do a phone call, I'm like, oh, thank you.
yeah.
So I do think it's awesome that you coach people just using the phone. I think that's a breath of fresh air for people these days. Um, so what is your typical client? Who is your typical client, let's say?
So I believe that there's a lot of people out there that are could be industry leaders, but they don't realize that they are. So you could be like a CMO or some executive in a very non-social media promoted industry, let's say concrete. Not kidding, like you make concrete or something like that. And there's all these companies out there. And I would love working with whoever is a top dog at a company that's in that industry that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I could work with that executive or team to showcase their kind of their own expertise and allow people to be connected to them on a personal level. And when that happens, people will look at that company because when you connect with a leader authentically, then you'll want to like support the organization. And so that's an example of helping someone develop their personal brand. That's kind of a client type that I'd like. Also, you know, when you go for jobs or you're trying to brand yourself in a crowded industry or to stand out, I think it's really important to work on how to market yourself and what is your unique message, your unique value. And that's where personal brand value comes.
That's a huge one because, as you know, I mean, in every field, there are more than one person who does the same thing.
Yeah.
So, what I find really interesting is I interview people from businesses all day long in the same industry, but everybody does it differently. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're trying to pull out of people, right? Is how do
Yeah.
you do it different, better? And that's important. And that helps with the authenticity, right?
It does. It really does.
So, do you have a success story of somebody that you actually helped? You don't have to use their name, like through LinkedIn or through personal branding.
I'll actually use my own story because I think it's kind of interesting. So, and I'm not that I don't want to come off like I'm praising myself, but I feel this is relevant. I wouldn't be helping others if I couldn't help myself on the same thing, right? Like if you're a fitness coach, you have to be fit yourself if you're going to help other people be fit, right? You can't be someone who's not fit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I've seen it. It's sad but true. I've seen it. But anyways, so I realized, and this was coincidentally a little before the pandemic last year, that like Jan of 2020, that there was a need to talk about this conversation about why everyone is a personal brand, why it's your most valuable currency. And what I realized is that there wasn't enough content on this on LinkedIn, at least the way I saw it. And so I just started to do a lot of LinkedIn live streams and things where I would interview successful people who actually figured out this formula, like kind of like a career advice slant. And from that, organically, I caught the attention of a company that was able to get my course on LinkedIn Learning, and I have a book deal that's coming out. My book's coming out in June. It's pretty much going to be like one of the best guides you've ever heard on how to use LinkedIn to build your personal brand. So I got a book deal, and I got a pretty much as good as you get course on LinkedIn Learning, because all I did was talk about why others need a personal brand, and I would feature other successful people that are doing things with their personal brand. So what the lesson of the story is that find something that you're passionate about, find a way to promote others that are good at that passion, and opportunities can likely come to you.
So that's excellent advice. And promoting your personal brand on LinkedIn, I just had a conversation with the marketing person before this, and I told him, I said, I prefer LinkedIn to all the other platforms. I feel it's more serious and it's more business to business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you really are going to develop a personal brand as a business person, that LinkedIn is where you want to be. If you're a celebrity, then go to Twitter or, Facebook or something. But I think LinkedIn is a really valuable tool for business people.
Yeah, I think I'm not disagreeing with you that LinkedIn has a serious vibe or has a professional vibe. I just you just have to find what you're comfortable with. Like I know someone right now who has like, I don't know, 400,000 Twitter followers, but he only has like 5,000 Instagram followers, and he's a verified Instagram. Like it's not like so he has a credibility when you look at his profile. And I asked him this one time, and he's like, I'm just more comfortable with Twitter, and for me, it's not like I didn't purposely choose LinkedIn, or I'm not saying LinkedIn is the best thing to build a personal brand. I just got comfortable with it. And so you have to find what's comfortable with it. And then I was telling this to someone yesterday. There's a difference between finding platforms you can do real work and finding platforms which are the vanity work. So yes, let's say you did not get any traction with Instagram. Fine, but you still need Instagram. You still need to show what you're doing. It's just more to show vanity. But the real work, where at least for me, where I spend more of my time is on LinkedIn and now Clubhouse and certain platforms that I feel are more catered to me at least.
Yeah. So what advice do you give people for building their brand? So you did a lot of live streams. You spent a lot of time there.
So find the medium that you're very comfortable with. So you have to, not everyone is a live streamer. Not everyone's a writer. Not everyone's a blogger. You have to experiment and find that medium. And what I mean by experiment is, can you do it for 2 weeks straight and not worry about metrics and enjoy it? If that's it, then that's your medium. That's my rule.
Okay, great. And does your personal brand then include how you look every time, or what kind of words you use? Or
Yeah, I know that's a big topic right now. Especially in this day and age with diversity, inclusivity is a huge theme, and we're in I feel, transformative time with things like this. I believe that has been passed, but the Equality Act and other things like that. So I think it's very imperative that you be mindful of how you communicate. And to answer your question about, do I pay attention? Absolutely, you should pay attention to it. I mean, you can't go, and I'll use a great example. You can't be in a panel with, let's say it's an all-female conference, okay? And I'm being totally transparent. And you can't say like, oh, well, I work with some chicks or I know some girls. And it's not, and even though like, yes, it's not right, but it's kind of like, well, if your intent wasn't to be offensive, then, you can't like strangle the person for saying that. But it's also common sense that if you have that unfortunate language, know when to say it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm more focused on. I don't really focus on specific words or things. In terms of dress, yeah, I think you have to dress what's comfortable. Now, obviously, there's special situations. Like if you're invited to a country club event, you're going to wear the proper jacket. Or if you're invited to a wedding and it specifically says black tie, wear black tie. It's funny. I was hearing this Will Smith interview yesterday, and someone asked him in the interview, like, what's it like raising your kids? Because he has very dynamic kids. And apparently his son, Jaden, wanted to wear a Batman outfit to his prom dance. And it created this whole like controversy because the girl who asked him, the dad called Will literally, and he was like, "Listen, like I don't want to make this awkward. I know you guys are very artistic, but could you kindly ask your son to like not wear the Batman outfit?" And he kind of compromised. He wore a Batman outfit with a shirt and tie on top. So it's just like, but you know what I mean. So unless you have those types of situations, I would say be aware of your dress code. I think the key to fitting in with your communication and to your dress style is to be aware of your surroundings. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. So you can have a funky brand or like an out there brand or whatever, but maybe you need to bring it in a little bit if you're going to be in a certain situation. Like, I don't think I would go meet Bill Gates in cutoffs and flip flops.
Yeah.
Unless we were on the beach, so I probably still wouldn't.
Well, it's funny. It depends on. It's also interesting, but on the flip side, it depends on where you live. So I live in Orange County right now, Newport Beach area, and it's a very like just beach vibe, very laid back and things like that. And you'll often see when you go out to some places, or at least when you used to go out, you'd see people who are considered the most successful, but they look like bums. Literally, they look like
Yeah.
bums. But I go to some places like New York City, or what I did, it's like the nice, investment banker suit. That's like, oh, that person's made it. So it depends on. That's what I mean by be aware of your environment. That's all I'm trying to say. There's not one outfit that fits all environments. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right. And so be your brand, be authentic and true to your brand. Just kind of figure out what your brand is.
Yeah.
So like my brand is not to wear like wild stuff because I just don't, because as you said, I just don't feel comfortable in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it looks great on some people, but not me. so, so,
No
and
worries.
so I think your brand, your personal brand though, it's how you look, how you speak, how you present yourself, how you respond to other people. So I think that all rolls into a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what information you convey to people. So your brand is to be an expert on communication and
Mm-hmm.
on branding yourself, right?
Right.
And so that's what you're going to convey to people. And yeah, is there any other advice you would give to people about their?
Yeah, I would. I want to emphasize the one thing: don't go all in on a platform or a person, a specific thing, just because others are. Like, find a voice that's connected to you. Like for instance, I have some interviews on LinkedIn Live, okay, that have gotten, a couple thousand, 10,000, 20,000 views, but they've gotten like 10 views on YouTube. It doesn't mean that like I'm not meant to be someone on social media. It's just like I haven't YouTube, at least for the interviews, were not my thing. However, the second part is if you want to go in on a platform, do what naturally makes sense for that platform. So if I went in all in on YouTube, I would be doing more vlogs. But for LinkedIn, I do more interviews. So you just be aware of those things. There's not one style fits everything. The other thing too is I think to answer your earlier question, I'm so glad you asked that question about communication and how to wear things or what to wear. I think one thing that can help is just be aware of your environment. Like it's just common sense. If you're again use that all women conference, okay? I've had the pleasure of being literally the only man in like all women conferences. I emceed a women's STEM conference, which had like 2,000 women, and I was like one of the male MCs because it's not because like I'm a pro feminist or anything like that. I don't really identify myself as anything like politically really, but it's just because I see everyone as equals, and I think people like that vibe. But if I had that type of banter, I wouldn't be saying, "Oh, all you chicks are amazing." You know what I mean? You'd be like, "Well, no, all you women are crushing it." You know what I mean? You gotta like common sense, and I think it comes to just being aware of your environment.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you're oversensitive to other people's feelings or anything.
Yeah.
It means that if you say something that people resent, then all the communication and hearing and listening stops,
Yeah.
right? Right. And so if you want to get your message across, you have to be aware of who you're speaking to.
Well said.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great advice. Yeah, I certainly try to use that. Some people like humor more than others, so I have to be careful with that too, right?
Well, I'm
Um,
always about humor, so you can say whatever you want to me. I actually think it's healthy to listen to some form of comedy every day, whether it's rated R or PG comedy. I don't care what it is, because I think the power of laughter and the power of accepting the weirdness and uniqueness of oneself is healthy mentally, at least.
I agree. I like to laugh every day. So, yeah, great. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, if people are curious to know more about this whole concept of, finding your authentic voice and stuff, I really recommend you take a look at my LinkedIn learning course. I can send you a link after this on it, but I think you might learn a lot about these things.
Excellent. Would love that. Thank you.